Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Sometimes, the simplest stories turn out to be the most touching. Not stories about huge concerts or grand stages, but about two people quietly staying by each other's side during one of the hardest periods of their lives. And this time, Jimin finally began sharing stories he had rarely talked about since serving in the military together with Jungkook. During the live stream, the atmosphere slowly shifted from casual to deeply personal. At first, they were just joking around like friends reminiscing about the past, but without realizing it, the conversation became a small window into Jimin and Jungkook's lives after completing their military service. The change was especially noticeable in the way Jimin spoke. He seemed to be reopening memories he had kept hidden for a long time. For months, they chose not to talk much about military life. Not because there were no stories to tell, but because the experience had been physically and emotionally intense. Now, with time having passed, Jimin finally started sharing the little moments that revealed just how close they became during some of the toughest days of their lives. It all started with a light-hearted conversation about how Jungkook addresses each BTS member. Namjoon jokingly asked what Jungkook usually calls him, and Hobi quickly answered while laughing, Namjoon Hyung. Taehyung added that Jungkook normally calls him Taehyung Hyung, although on stage it sometimes changes to V Hyung. Everyone laughed when Namjoon joked that many people might have forgotten Taehyung's real name because they were so used to his stage name. But when it was Jimin's turn, the atmosphere suddenly softened. With a small smile, Jimin said that Jungkook simply calls him Jimin. Not Jimin Hyung. Just Jimin. To some people, it might sound insignificant, but in Korea, the way someone addresses another person carries a lot of meaning, especially because age hierarchy is highly respected. Jimin and Jungkook's relationship has always felt different. Jungkook can be very formal with many people, but around Jimin, he seems completely comfortable, like he doesn't need to guard himself at all. And the way Jimin talked about it felt warm and meaningful, as if that simple nickname carried years of trust between them. In the middle of the conversation, Jimin once again showed his caring side. He shared that during military service, he often lent his card to fellow soldiers so they could buy snacks at the PX or military convenience store. Sometimes, he even treated his superiors, even though it technically wasn't allowed. Jimin explained that after he stopped attending religious activities at the training center, he still had opportunities to visit the convenience store while the other soldiers were away attending those events. It only happened once during weekends, but instead of using it just for himself, he chose to help others. He would hand over his card and say, "Just buy whatever you want to eat." His kindness even led one soldier to upload an Instagram story saying, "Today I bought snacks at the PX using Soldier Jimin's money." That small moment touched many people because it showed that behind his global idol status, Jimin remained humble, warm-hearted, and deeply considerate of others. After that, Jimin began talking about their nights in the military, and this was where everyone burst into non-stop laughter. He explained that he and Jungkook had back-to-back night guard schedules, meaning they constantly saw each other while both completely exhausted. Every time Jimin's shift ended, he had to wake Jungkook up for the next one. According to Jimin, a half-asleep Jungkook would immediately start complaining loudly without caring whether other soldiers woke up or not. Jimin even reenacted it while laughing. He said Jungkook would sit there for a few seconds with a blank expression, rub his shaved head, and say in a defeated voice, "Hyung, what are we even doing here?" Everyone laughed at the story, but behind the humor there was also something strangely sad about it. Jungkook was probably genuinely exhausted to the point of questioning everything in the middle of the repetitive and demanding military routine. Yet the way Jimin remembered that moment showed how carefully he noticed every small detail about Jungkook, even far away from the stage and cameras. Jimin also shared their experience attending religious gatherings at the military training camp. According to him, many soldiers went there not for religious reasons, but because free food was provided. He and Jungkook also went hoping to get extra bread or snacks. But when they arrived, they discovered everyone was singing and dancing together. Jimin said he and Jungkook immediately exchanged exhausted looks as if silently saying, "This is not what we expected." They had only wanted to sit quietly and eat something, but a trainee told everyone to stand up and participate. And that was when Jungkook gave the most Jungkook-like response possible. "I don't want to." When asked why, Jungkook simply answered, "Because I just don't want to." Jimin told that part while laughing uncontrollably. Not because Jungkook wanted to cause trouble, but because he was simply too tired to pretend to be energetic. Even in the strict environment of the military, Jungkook still held onto the most genuine parts of himself, honest, blunt, and emotionally transparent. One of the most touching stories came when Jimin talked about the military cafeteria. He said the food lines were always long, and everyone rushed to grab their favorite side dishes before they ran out. If there was something popular like fried eggs, soldiers would hurry to get them first. Then Jimin said something that made everyone smile. He and Jungkook were always the fastest ones. It sounds simple, but the way Jimin described it made the scene feel so vivid. The two of them moving quickly through the crowd while hearing people shout, "Hurry, hurry, Hyung is coming." It almost felt like watching them become young trainees again, struggling side by side and sharing small victories in the middle of exhausting days. In the end, all of Jimin's stories carried the same message. They were never truly alone during military service. In the middle of exhaustion, strict rules, and a life completely different from the stage, they still found time to laugh together, tease each other, and make difficult days feel a little lighter. J-Hope later said that Jimin and Jungkook's military stories were honestly the funniest to hear. Namjoon then asked why they were only talking about these memories now. That was when Jimin finally explained that after leaving the military, they simply were not ready to revisit those experiences yet. Everything had felt too intense, and they needed time to feel like themselves again. But now, looking back, those memories had slowly transformed into something different. They were no longer just stories about exhaustion and military discipline, but stories about companionship. And maybe that is exactly why this live stream felt so emotional for so many people. Because Jimin was not sharing something grand or dramatic. He was simply talking about the small pieces of life he shared with Jungkook. Waking him up in the middle of the night, racing for food in the cafeteria, exchanging exhausted looks, and laughing together during some of the hardest days of their lives. And somehow, it is through those little moments that we can truly see how deep their bond really is. In a world that keeps constantly changing, Jimin and Jungkook remain two people who always find ways to stay by each other's side. And maybe, that is what makes their story feel so warm and unforgettable. If you have a favorite moment from Jimin's stories this time, let us know in the comments below. And which part made you laugh the most or touched your heart the deepest? Thank you so much for watching until the end, and see you in the next video only on Jikook Moments.